Welcome to the Arclight Battery, your power source for all things Warcraft Rumble related. In today's video, I am joined by Bluemax Gaming. How's it going, Bluemax?
Doing well, Minnie. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So, we both made pretty similar videos, kind of guessing what the Rocket Tower meta would be like. We both had a ton of time to play PvP. I am Mithril Calcutron right now, climbing ever so slowly. Bluemax, what's your rating?
I'm Dark Iron 2, so I'm around mid 13, about 13.5.
So, I think it's pretty
So,
fair to say we both got a good amount of experience playing PvP, right?
sure.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
So,
I've definitely seen plenty of experience of how people beat me. So I can definitely I can definitely share
no.
that.
I'm pretty sure you
Yeah.
beat me the other night. I think 2 nights ago when I was streaming. I think you stomped me pretty well.
Okay. All right. Fair.
So I think Blue Max is pretty experienced here. We both got different leaders and builds we're going to talk about. We're going to kind of revisit our thoughts and see what is actually good in this meta so that you guys can get a good feel for what deck loadouts could look like while you guys play PvP. So we will go
Yeah.
ahead and get into it. The first leader I want to talk about is Murk-Eye. So let me go ahead and pull up Murk-Eye's leader here. And this is what I'm playing. So, specifically, we've got
hmm
Murkeye with the March of the Murlocs talent that increases his duration of his ability that spawns Murlocs. We've got Quillbore to contest the middle, to distract towers, to turn around Rins. We've got Polymorph to deal with things like Gargoyle, Raider, Rend, Dracasath, all things like that. Gargoyle is fantastic once you play Murkeye. Being able to drop a gargoyle just down the other lane and having it a different pace than the Murlocs is fantastic because you've not only
Yeah.
got the threat of the fast Murlocs, but after a few seconds that the Murlocs get to your base, the gargoyle will be soon behind. So if they deal with one thing, they may not be able to deal with the other. Safe Pilot for
Nice.
on-demand support for the Murkeye, Deep Breath to control. Though if you don't have Deep Breath, Blizzard is also very good. You can use it
hmm
defensively at your base. You can use it defensively on big clumps of enemies. That tends to happen a lot on this map. You can
hmm
use it aggressively on their base to defend your Gargoyle. And then we have Bandits, which are also, once again, very good at stopping things that are at your base that are single target that will wreck you. Not so good against Gargoyle. However, they're very good against Dracasath, a Rend that is dismounted, very good against Warsong Raider.
Yep.
So, the
Yep.
key with Murkeye, I feel, is to play him when you're full gold, and then don't just jam out all of your gold, because what you want to do is be able to respond to what they're doing. So you may not get a ton of Murlocs, but being able to
hmm
play Murkeye Gargoyle and then saving a little gold to respond to what they do is very
Yeah.
crucial. Because if you don't have any gold to respond to what they're doing against your push is just going to die. And so March of the Murlocs gives us the opportunity to generate more Murlocs, even
hmm
though we're waiting and responding to what they do. So Max, what are your thoughts on this deck?
So my first question, Minnie, is: are there particular locations where you like to drop Murkeye? Because that can, depending upon placement of Murkeye, you can do really well, or you can lose your push immediately.
Yeah, so I like that question. Generally I play him the back left of my base and send Gargoyle down the
hmm
right lane. However, that's not
hmm
always the best place to play him. Specifically if you're playing against a Jaina matchup that is control and running execute. If you play him near your
hmm
base, you're going to probably lose him to deep breath, um, as well as getting your base damaged at the same time. So
Yep.
we want to try and
Yep.
minimize the damage our base is taking in that matchup. So we
hmm
can also play him on the side tower.
Yes. No, I agree. I am not nearly as experienced with Murkeye. I think my Murkeye is in the 2K range, but I definitely noticed that basically alternating where I place Murkeye works really well in terms of just throwing your opponent off your rhythm. Because if they think they have the rhythm, then your subsequent Murkeye pushes are not going to be as effective because they're going to be ready for what you're doing.
It's a good point to make. I've never
Yeah.
actually considered that. That's really solid. Okay, Max, what do you play for Murkeye?
Okay, so So real quick, Minnie and I are both in the same guild, Diablo Gaming. So there
Hmm.
is going to be some significant overlap to our decks, simply because we share quite a bit of information within our Discord server. I do have one difference, and that is I am running Prowler for Gargoyle presently,
Okay. So something like
and
this. What talent do you use on him?
yeah, so looks like I'm currently using the talent that puts Prowler in stealth and stun.
Okay.
But I have also used the one. Yeah, there's a lot of really good synergy with the. I'm going to call it the Beastmaster talent with Prowler.
Hmm.
Definitely some very good synergy there. I'm using the stun because I was getting wrecked by some really top PvP players um, with Warsong Raider, and
Hmm.
so just trying to shut that Warsong Raider down. However, I would say that I mean, other than that, our decks are identical, and so polymorph and safe is going to be such a staple in so many of our decks in dealing with pushes at the base, and so that can be really effective as well. Um, my main thing was I've just been trying to. I had a lot of success with Gargoyle early on in the Rocket Tower meta, and then I started dropping off,
Hmm.
started not doing as well, and so I have just been, shall we say, I've just been experimenting with different tank units. So of course Prowler is really good, really good at taking down tankier units, um, and so that's mostly what I've been doing. But again, I'm still just kind of mucking around with Murk-Eye. I haven't gotten too serious with Murk-Eye, so I wouldn't
Hmm.
necessarily take my choice of Prowler too to heart.
Well, I think Prowler is pretty good. A lot of players are running him in their decks. I am not,
Hmm.
just because I'm a big fan of Gargoyle right now, and
Yeah.
I always I'm just playing everything around Gargoyle for the most part.
Yep.
However, something
Yep.
I do like with Prowler is I think that maybe I think stealth is very good. I think it's very good for Warsong
Hmm.
Raider, like you were saying. Good at
Right.
stunning dismounted Rins or Dracasaths. He's very good.
Yep.
I think something else could be said for maybe Predatory Instincts, dealing double damage to enemies who are at more than 75% health. I think
Yeah.
that can trade well when they're already distracted by something. So, like if you use a Quillboar to tank
Hmm.
them, or you stun them with Defias Bandits, and then maybe even you could swap out Deep Breath for something like Execute to maybe make him
Yeah.
more of a threat against a side tower. Maybe you could push side
Hmm.
towers with this build. Just a couple things to
Absolutely.
think about.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. And honestly, Prowler, if you keep your opponent distracted and off balance, a push directly to the barracks using execute with bloodlust is also really effective.
mhm. Alrighty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and
Okay.
switch this back just so I don't get messed up when I queue into PvP and I'm like, whoa, what's
That's a good
happening?
idea. Yep, yep. There's nothing worse than when, oh shoot, that was my quest deck. Gee, I'm about to lose something there.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay, and next we will move on to Tirion. This is one of my
All right.
favorite decks right now in the meta. It is so fun, and
Yes.
I don't feel like anybody is playing it. So first we have Tirion with Divine Shield. It makes him
Hmm.
super tanky. You can use him
Hmm.
offensively to deal damage to the base because the base will not
Yep.
kill him before he Divine Shields,
Yeah.
and then he just heals back up and he's even more of a threat. You can use him kind of as a pseudo harvest golem at your base, where you
Hmm.
can use him to tank things in front of your tower. He
Yep.
can't die because he has Divine Shield, and he heals himself back up, and then he tanks for even longer. You've got Gargoyle, which is our main win condition. We send
Hmm.
him down the right lane most of the time. Super solid. We've got Safe
Yep.
Pilot to support our Gargoyle to take control of the middle potentially. Quillbore,
Yep.
same thing. Distract towers, turn around Rins, contest the
Yeah.
middle. All super
Yeah.
solid. Polymorph, once again, same thing. Great against Drac, Rend, Gargoyle, Raider. Big threats, even Hogger, it's good against. And then
Hmm.
Blizzard, we can use defensively on our base
Yep.
to defend and root things, or we could use it aggressively to protect our Gargoyle. And then finally,
Yes, you
we
can.
we have our Griffin Rider that has the potion drop talent. We're using this
Yes.
specifically to level up our Tyrions and Gargoyles. So in this build, most of the time, I don't play a Gargoyle until I've got a potion or two
Hmm.
down the right lane. The main goal of this deck is to play a Tyrion down your left lane and then have him go across the middle. And at the same time, you're sending a gargoyle down the right lane. He's going to pick up some
Yes.
potions, leveling
Yes.
him up a couple times. If you have another Griffin Rider, you can start laying more potions for our next push, or
Hmm.
even drop it aggressively in front of the Griffin, in front of the Gargoyle, to get
Hmm.
even more levels on it if you have that kind of gold. But generally, you just want to let the Gargoyle pick up the potions, and then once your Gargoyle gets to your side tower, you've generated more gold, so you have some excess to play a
Yep.
Tirion on top of it. And if you can pull it off, the Tirion that you sent down the left lane will then meet up with the other Tirion and Gargoyle, and you have a death ball of two Tyrions and a Gargoyle, and it is very
Yes.
difficult to deal with. So that is the main goal of this deck.
Yeah.
Max, what are your thoughts?
Well, look, I did adopt this deck thanks to your recommendation, but other than that, we didn't discuss it. The strategy you just described is exactly how I played a Tyrion match earlier today against a pretty top opponent, and it worked really, really well. It was virtually unkillable, and so I went from losing, like I was definitely going to lose the match, but I was able to pull that off, and it was a win.
Mm-hmm.
So super, super solid. Um, I typically, yeah, I typically drop Griffin in that bottom right corner, and then I just avoid dropping anything else on it, including a second Griffin, like you said, to just build up those potions.
Mm-hmm.
And Gargoyle just becomes so unstoppable. And of course, you have so many options to deal with a Banshee, which is a really, really strong counter if left unattended. When it comes to Gargoyle, you've got Blizzard, Safe, even a Quillbore. Even a Quillbore just, spur the moment, let the Gargoyle take the Quill, and you just got a +2 gold exchange. So,
I've
lot of
even
utility.
I've even aggressively polymorphed the Banshee before, and it's
Yeah.
not amazing, but it's the difference between like 3 hits on the base with Gargoyle and then
Hmm.
potentially cycling back to, like you said, a Quillbore or a Blizzard or something like that. So
Yeah.
definitely good.
Yeah. Completely. Definitely worth it. I mean, for what it's worth, let's see. I probably, I got my Tyrion up to 4K. Tyrion was at 3,700, so I got him up to 4K adopting this build. It's rock solid.
Good. All right, let's move on to Jaina. This is another one of my top builds.
Yeah.
I was playing Gargoyle with Jaina, where Holy Nova is in place of the Harvest Golem, and then
Okay.
Sheep is where Execute is. We would reroll the spell slot to cycle to move the Quillbore to it, and then have um, Gargoyle where the Quillbore is, and then we would also change the Shaman to something like a Griffin Rider or Bandits, just things to really help support what we're trying to do. However,
Hmm.
I've decided to adopt this build. It's the Control Jaina build, where you just defend and execute their base a couple of times, and you win
Hmm.
on overtime. So we've got Jaina with clear casting to help reduce the cost of your spells. We've got
Okay.
Safe Pilot. It couples really well with Polymorph to kill things because Polymorph makes them vulnerable. Um,
Hmm.
Controls the middle, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just super valuable in every matchup. Harvest Golem is
Yes.
fantastic. It clogs up the front of your base because it's super tanky. Mine's only level 8 in PvP, and I still run it. It's just so valuable in this deck. Um,
Yeah.
it tanks and then it dies and stuns things for, I think it's 4 seconds. We can look. But then it comes back to life, tanks, and then does it again. It's only 3
3
seconds,
seconds.
but
But still, it feels like a long time in a match. It really
mm-hmm.
does.
And we have
Yeah.
Execute, which is pretty solid. If you have excess gold, you can drop Quillbore on their base or side tower, and then Execute to give him Bloodlust and deal a bunch of damage.
Hmm.
Polymorph, same reason. It's just valuable against all the things I mentioned previously. And then
Yep.
Shaman. Shaman is great at supporting your golem, as well as the talent that drops a totem that heals your base or tower.
Yeah.
This is so fantastic. Just being able to get multi-purpose out of it, like dropping it behind your Harvest Golem while your Harvest
Hmm.
Golem is tanking at your base. It will not only
Yep.
heal your Harvest Golem and deal damage to whatever he is fighting, it will also drop a totem that will heal your base. It is so fantastic. And then Quillbore, for all the reasons Quillbore is good. So Max, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah. So that is rock solid, and yeah, it's a really fun build to play. It does require a lot of patience. It's not an aggressive build. It's a very much a turtling build. I would say with a lot of these control builds, a big fear is, one of the decks we run into a lot is one of those side tower take builds, whether it's using whelp eggs or skeletons, and so that is a trick for me to figure out how to deal with. But I think that Harvest Golem is a really good move there, because those skellies will aggro to the golem instead of your tower, and if
Hmm.
you do lose it, you get that stun, and so you can be ready with the safe pilot
Yeah,
to come in. Yeah, so
yeah.
this
I
this deck has a lot of utility.
yeah, I really think that defending your side tower is key, and really
Hmm.
defending your side tower is all about paying attention to it, because if you
Yes.
respond even a second too late, you're probably losing it. Which isn't necessarily always a loss, because a Jaina plus execute will take the
Hmm.
tower back immediately, if you
Hmm.
decide to go that route. But if you are quick,
Yeah.
you can drop a Harvest Golem in the middle of the skeletons. It will tank them. Even if the execute hits it, it'll die pretty quick, but it stuns them and then comes back to life. So it's very
Yeah.
valuable there. You can drop a
Very.
shaman to heal your base and also attack what's happening there. Well, your
Yep.
side tower, not necessarily your base. Safe Pilot
Right.
is great at killing skeletons. Quillbore is
Hmm.
great at distracting them. It can die if they get an execute onto it as well.
Yep.
However, the skeletons generally kill themselves off of the bristleback talent. So,
Very true. That's a very good point. I'm gonna have to remember that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Max, what are you running in your Jaina build?
Well, I'm running the exact same thing you are. Oh
Fair
my
enough.
goodness. Yeah. Well, I just I tried. Let's see. I've tried Gargoyle. I have run Gargoyle on this particular build, and using spells to really support Gargoyle. But um, I've had some amount of success on that. I will throw out here real quick. You're using Double Dragon in a lot of your Deep Breath builds.
Hmm.
I've also used Attunement instead, which provides resist to all of your allied minis that are caught in the stream,
Okay.
and that is that is really nice for dealing with. Excuse me, that's very nice for dealing with the elemental rocket towers that we're currently facing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
uh, that's pretty much it.
Sounds good. I do like the attunement talent. I've ran it a couple times. I actually switched my Tirion build at one
Hmm.
point to Footman. And I ran that with them, and it was a little successful. It was kind of strange because I probably hadn't played a Rend in like 50 games, and then as soon as I switched to the Footman build, I played 4 Rends in a row, and I was just like,
Wow.
okay, it was a little rough. Footmen are not very good against Rend, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was
for sure.
very good against some other things we found.
Yeah.
And then the last
Nice.
build I want to talk about is Cairne. And now I don't have a
Okay.
ton of experience with Cairne. However, if I were to play it, this is something. Uh, this is kind of what it would look like. We are mainly running Cairne to get his passive, which is an extra 20% health to hard
20%.
troops. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
very good with our Warsong Raider here. This kind of acts as a
Yes.
pseudo gargoyle. It's not in the air, but it
Hmm.
is much quicker. So you can drop it from your side tower and it will be at the enemy's base in just a couple seconds, which means you can
Yep.
monitor how much gold they're spending. And if you can
Hmm.
drop her once they've played a good portion of their gold, it means that they probably won't be able to defend it very well. So you really got to pay attention to what they're doing, but super
You do.
good. Hits very hard. Running execute to
Yeah.
execute their base also helps defend if you really need to in a pinch, but generally this is used on top of
Hmm.
your Warsong Raider. Safe Pilot and
Yep.
Quillbore for all the main reasons. I
Hmm.
am running Whelp Eggs here, though
Hmm.
potentially you may run a Blizzard to help defend your Warsong Raider push. That may
Yep.
just be a little better. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it too much. And then this could probably be a couple things. You might even be able to change this to a spell slot, move the execute down, and then put troll in its
Hmm.
place. But I was just using
Hmm.
it for gold control, and it seems to be pretty
Yep.
good. So Max, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So in addition to everything you said, granted, we're not seeing a lot of Darkspear Troll on this particular map, but you could potentially make a case that Darkspear Troll could be used strictly defensively, and when paired with Cairne, you're not going to lose to a safe pilot.
Okay.
At least not coming in hot, and that can be really clutch, especially if you catch your opponent unawares. I also wonder, I don't know, I also wonder if sappers could be a good play here, since it would take advantage of a valor slot, and for your spell you could do either cheat death or smoke bomb. But although I think cheat death is really strong with sappers if applied correctly. What are your thoughts there?
I think so too. However, I think the trap that you get into with sappers and cheat death is that it's very countered by a blizzard, and also polymorph. And while those aren't super prevalent in the meta, I think I
Mm-hmm.
am probably one of the only people running polymorph. Well, Sky is as well, but it doesn't seem like anybody on the NA server is running polymorph. But I think it's
Mm-hmm.
very good. And Blizzard is also very good. But when you play sappers and cheat death, if you have
Mm-hmm.
the counter to it, you're losing so much gold by doing that. Because even if you Blizzard it, the sappers and cheat death is 5 gold and Blizzard's only 4. And if
Right.
you polymorph it and you're running the Golden Fleece talent,
Mm-hmm.
you're using 3 gold to stop 5 gold, but then you're also gaining a gold when they die,
Yeah.
which makes it 2 for 5. And that is very strong. If you do that and you
Mm-hmm.
get countered even once, it can mean the end of the game. Losing 3 gold is very swingy.
It certainly is. What I've seen a top player do is it seemed like that build was specifically tailored to counter polymorph, which is also a spell that I run pretty heavily,
Mm-hmm.
and that was their okay. Initially they were putting cheat death on the sappers as they were preparing to deploy, and so you were catching them on poly, you were softening them up, and then cheat death was expiring and aging out with poly. But what they started doing is they started dropping cheat death while the sappers were polyed just before they were dead, and it was enough time.
Mm,
Yeah,
I see.
it was
It's
enough time to for the sappers to come out of it and hit the safe. And I lost 4 consecutive games last night on a stream against that tactic. And of course,
gotcha.
you know how it goes. As soon as I made an adjustment, I threw Defius bandits into my build so that I could stun them, and then I stopped queuing against that player.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty
And who's
bummed.
that player? My channel knows him pretty well. You can go ahead and
Oh,
say
yeah, absolutely. It is Bulava. Well played, sir. Very
it.
well played. Yeah.
So, so I played against him 3 times in a row last night with the Tirion build, and we
Okay.
managed to win every time.
Okay.
Something that you can do, and it's very difficult to do, but I think if you get good at it, it's
Mhm.
invaluable, is you can actually polymorph the sappers mid-jump to your base, which it takes some timing.
Yep.
However, it makes it very hard for them to cheat death. Um,
Okay.
I think it gains you a little bit of extra time,
Yeah, I bet it
and
does.
it is hard to pull off. I'll say it again, but I think if you can time it well, it really helps you out.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think you would literally just have to you would just have to practice. Every time you faced a player with sappers, you would just have to practice and just learn the rhythm and know exactly when to drop.
Mhm.
That sounds reasonable. Yeah,
Alrighty.
that could. All right.
Well, that is the end of this video. We covered Murkeye, Tirion, Jaina, and Cairne. Now we are going to go do a video on Bluemax's YouTube. I will link his channel as well as the video link on his channel in the description of this video. We're going to talk about Maiev, Rind, Baron, and Drakaseth, all 4 very popular heroes. I know you guys like seeing
Yep.
builds and discussion around those heroes. So, that's what we're doing on Bluemax's channel. Please go check it out. If you haven't seen Bluemax before, he makes awesome PvP guides. He does shop breakdowns, tier list, meta predictions, all sorts of cool content. So make sure you go over there, check out his channel, subscribe to him if you haven't. Lots of good information coming out from over there. But that is all for this video. Once again, Bluemax is right down there, so please go check him out. And until next time, guys, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.